What's going on, everyone? I'm Tyler. Welcome to Circle One Sports, and today I've circled the Indianapolis Colts as today's topic. So on Friday, the Colts announced their new defensive coordinator replacing Matt Eberflus, who had served in the position for the previous 4 seasons until he decided to take on the head coaching job with the Chicago Bears, and effectively took his entire defensive staff with him to the Windy City too. Chris Ballard interviewed multiple candidates that included Titans senior defensive assistant Jim Schwartz and New Orleans Saints cornerbacks coach Chris Richard, and in the end decided to go with experience and respected leadership in Vegas Raiders defensive coordinator Gus Bradley. Now, Bradley carries on a pretty solid history as a defensive coach. He helped cultivate the famous Legion of Boom defense in Seattle, served several years as a head coach in Jacksonville, which, as usual with most Jacksonville head coaches, did not go good, but it allowed him to go back to his defensive coordinator roots, where he took over a mediocre Chargers defense that automatically turned around in his first year. It did regress over time, but it did show how quick he can turn around a defensive unit, which is exactly what he did with the Raiders in this past season, who had one of the worst by far in 2020, and he quickly turned around several position groups to where it ended up being one of the league's above average units. They went from a team that was bottom 8 in terms of total yards per game allowed and pass yards per game allowed into a top 15 unit in both categories, but more importantly, putting great advanced statistics in terms of the pass rush, which is something that the Colts have been trying to improve and hope a new defensive unit does that. Now, although they had only 2 more sacks as a unit than the Colts did this past year, it was the advanced metrics, however, that showed that it was a much better unit than it seems on paper. They were 12th in total pressures, 4th in quarterback knockdowns, and most importantly, 8th best in terms of pass rush win rate, which the Colts last year under Eberflus were the 9th worst in the league. And part of that was made possible because Bradley worked with a really good pass rush duo in Max Crosby and Yannick Ngakoue. Crosby put up career highs in terms of pressures and quarterback knockdowns, and Ngakoue had his best season since his second year in Jacksonville. Furthermore, he had a pass rush duo of Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram when he was with the Chargers, both of whom put up consecutive Pro Bowl seasons starting in 2017. And pass rush with the edge group is where the Colts need to improve the most as a defensive unit, because Bradley employs a similar scheme that Eberflus did, in which they're heavy on zone and low on blitz, but Bradley runs a cover 3 compared to Eberflus's cover 2, in which he drops the free safety into a prevent with the 2 other corners, but more importantly allows the strong safety to focus more on the line of scrimmage, which helps a lot for current Colts safety Khari Willis, because he functions best as a box safety. Now, with bringing Bradley on board, he does have solid position groups, including the secondary, not Legion of Boom level, but still pretty commendable. It's the linebacker group that he's got to be very happy about, because the best he had in Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright back in Seattle has a very good follow-up in terms of Pro Bowler Darius Leonard and on the rise Bobby Okereke. The pass rush factor, however, is definitely what Ballard wants out of Bradley, because they have to get to the quarterback better. That being said, the way it's constructed right now going into the offseason, where Kwity Paye and Dayo Odengbo are their leading edge rush guys, that is a far cry from what Bradley has had to work with in the past, where he had Ngakoue and Crosby in Vegas and Bosa and Ingram in Los Angeles. This is step 1 for how Ballard has to change his frugal free agency philosophy, in which he needs to put a commendable veteran edge rusher to motivate these young guys, but also give Bradley a great tool to work with. That's where I feel like it's vital to sign a guy like Chandler Jones or Hassan Reddick, because it will allow Bradley to continue to shine with him cultivating good pass rush duos, but also so the Colts can be a legit unit moving forward, because if they get to the quarterback much better than they have in recent years, that will allow the takeaways to shine with this unit too. Now, it isn't just pass rush that helps Bradley have a good influence over free agency, but also because he's developed a good rapport with several players that they've followed him to future teams that he has taken over as coordinator too. KJ Wright, for instance, that he coached in Seattle, ended up playing for him in Vegas last year. You had Casey Hayward and Denzel Perryman, who played for him in LA, come over this past year too. Hayward rebounded from a rough 2020 and put up great coverage numbers with the Raiders. And then linebacker Denzel Perryman set career high in tackles and ended up being selected as a Pro Bowler. I could totally see Hayward coming to the Colts as well, because they have Xavier Rhodes departing, and again, with that familiarity working for Gus Bradley, Hayward could fill that veteran slot that the Colts are going to need to find for this defensive unit. And finally, in terms of who he hires, it's going to be quite interesting, because he's carried over several guys not just from the Chargers but to the Raiders as well. It's also those Seattle connections, however, that could help build a pretty good staff, not only to boost the pass rush but also keep other position groups up to the standard that they've shown in recent years too. too. Nonetheless, I think Gus Bradley is a solid hire for the Colts in that they keep the familiarity of running a zone scheme, but more importantly, allow other players to prosper in different roles that could be beneficial for getting this defense to be in a great unit. But let me know in the comments if you think Bradley was the right hire or if there was someone else that you think they should have gone with. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you like more sports content from me. But in the meantime, I'm Tyler with Circle One Sports. Catch you later. Peace.